When I'm walking down the street.
I do want to say to Doni and many of you in this room that over a very long career in this city, all of you have helped me and my colleagues tell the truth and to try to tell.
I may not look like you and you me, but
Put my hat up.
I'm from South Carolina, so I just...
What does this event mean to you, Miss Peggy Moss?
Oh, my heart,
Happy 20th anniversary.
my heart is about loving up on my sisters. Do you know what it feels like to have your sisters in the room? Done.
And dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. I am beautiful, I am blessed, but not just what you see in the flesh. I'm free from people, free from myself. There's a
The doctor lived next door to the janitor to the reverend and the lawyer. We were together. Now we get so high and mighty that you create stress for your society because you don't like poor black folks either. That's a health problem. Get yourself together so I can stop being taking care of geriatric people and get back to pediatrics. I thank you, Doni, for all you've done. Let's keep doing it all the more.
letting His glory shine through. Dare to be you, dare to be me, dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. And I dare you, I dare you, I dare you to be you.
First name's Doni, last name's Glover. In it to win it for the long haul, baby. Dr. Vonnya, she bought the block. Pettigrew, how are you?
I am wonderful. How are you? Good morning. Good morning.
No, lady, I overslept. Let me just cut straight to the chase.
It's all good.
How you doing?
I'm good. I am good. I'm here in the office, bright and early. You got me turning a new leaf.
Dr. Vonnya, how do you like life in Baltimore?
I love it. I love it. My company has been rooted here in Baltimore for 19 years. I founded Root Branch while I was living in Prince George's County, but I established the company in Baltimore and have been here, again, to think back, almost 20 years now. And quite honestly, Baltimore has been very, very good to me. Very good to me.
You said Prince George's County?
Prince George's County.
When you moved there, so you lived there for a while?
Yeah, I actually, I moved to Maryland for college. I went to University of Maryland College Park, so Prince George's County. And I lived in a number of towns or small cities throughout Prince George's County. All up and through that area, from Greenbelt to Adelphi to Laurel, a few other pockets that I'm probably, thinking about. And so I was living in Laurel at the time, working at Discovery Channel, Discovery down in Silver Spring, Montgomery County. And I came across an opportunity. It was a listing about a small business startup program called WEB, Women Entrepreneurs of Baltimore. And while I wasn't a resident of Baltimore, and that actually I think was one of the requirements, but Laurel, if you know anything about Laurel sits 20 minutes Baltimore heading north, 20 minutes DC heading south. So I was really right in the middle, and I was very much used to that commute to DC. So I threw my hat in the ring, created this concept for Root Branch Productions, and it was an 11-week cohort. And the outcome of the course was to have a business plan. That was the goal. Come out of it with a business plan, and that would set you on the right trajectory for filing with the state, getting your first bit of seed startup capital, and all of those kinds of things. And so when I got accepted into the program, I was like, this is incredible. And I mean, I still have friends from that class to this day. Some are still in business, some have launched different businesses, but to just watch us all kind of evolve and grow. One of my absolute best friends in life came out of that class. She did not start that particular business that we were in class for, but she is truly my best friend in real life. I'm the godmother of her children, like all the things. But after completing that program, I had to make a decision because, again, I still sat in the middle and I was very familiar with more DC and, that end of town. But I said, you know what? I'm going to take a look at what really establishing the business in Baltimore could look like, because it was a 20-minute drive either direction. And quite frankly, I got more for my buck heading to Baltimore. So my very, very first office was on St. Paul Street. It was, I think I still know the address, 2024 St. Paul Street. And then I think from 2024 St. Paul, I moved up the street to, or whichever way y'all call it, I moved to Mount Vernon. I was, I think, 529 Charles. Then I came back up the street. Then I was in Charles Village, 2315 Charles. And then I was at my house, because you know how entrepreneurship go. I was in my house. Then I was, actually, no, before I was in my house, I was at Impact Hub for some time.
I was at Impact Hub.
See, we probably was crossing paths. I was at Impact Hub. And then I was at my home. I was out in the county at this point. And then y'all kind of know the rest of the story. So then the pandemic hit. And we pivoted and took off because digital media and technology was the secret sauce to keeping us safe, keeping us connected, keeping us alive through virtual connection during pandemic and all of this digital content and educational content our company was able to produce. It grew and scaled us and set me on the path to buying the block.
So when's the book coming out?
I have been working on this book for a very long time because I've had so many moments of like just hardship and then big wins and and people are like, are you writing a book? Are you writing a book? But I feel like the book is still being developed. I was talking to someone recently and said, well, you could still drop a book and they don't even have to talk about where we are right now. It could be the early years, just kind of helping us build up. But what you may not know, Doni, I'm actually a published author. I am an author of a children's book. I wrote a children's book, and it was published, like not self-published, no shade to self-publishing, but it was published. It was based on me, my life as a little girl growing up in Philly. And the very first book title was Little V Walks Home from School. And it follows my path to my first experience of independence, the very first time I was allowed to walk home from school by myself. And Baltimore and Philadelphia is very similar in that is urban culture. Our children walk to school. We don't take the school bus or any of that. And so it becomes a really big deal when you're at a point where you and your friend group are able to walk those, whatever it was, 3-4 blocks from home, to school and from home. So the book did really well. I did some book tours. It was carried right here at the Barnes & Noble in the Harbor. I've done some book signings there in the past. And so I think I want to resurrect Lil V as well. I have a really fun concept that Little V, I do a V series where Little V does everything that starts with the letter V. So she votes. Hello. She, of course, is in video. She has video camera. She takes her vitamins. She volunteers. She's a well-rounded young lady that are dropping some really valuable gems to young people. And I think I can really build something out nice with the V series.
When you think of the trajectory of the average Black girl in America, what do you want her to know? What do you want your 7-year-old self to know?
Man, I want her to know that she could really, really be whatever she believed. Like, the dream doesn't have to just be a dream. It's wonderful to dream. It feels good to dream. It's it does something good for your soul to have your sights your sights set high, and you're ambitious and your goals, and you're desirous to want to help others and create a better space for the world and for future generations and all of these kinds of things. But I believe that while even for myself as a young person, I was very different. I was very different from my peer group. I was very different from my friend group. I can't really put it into words because I was a child, so I can't really articulate it. But looking back, there was something about whether it was what was prayed over me, it was my experiences, or what my upbringing. I still knew in the midst of all of these other things that didn't necessarily seem all the way right, that it wasn't right for me, and that there was this bigger path. There was this bigger thing for me. And I dreamed and I believed it and I hoped it, But also, to the flip of that, in the back of my mind, it was always this like really harsh reality that that's probably never going to happen. Some of these things that you're thinking about probably are never going to happen. I know we have heard statistics and stuff about young men not feeling like they would live to be 30. I am someone
15 to 20.
15 to 20 now, right? But I'm going to tell you, I am the youngest, and I have buried both of my parents and 2 of my siblings. Just some health issues, various medical things. So while I was having this incredible journey at a very young age, I mean, my bio, I interned at the White House, I'm having these really big wins at a very, very young age. And there was a part of me, in full transparency, that still felt kind of nervous. Like, why am I allowed to have so many big wins so young? And I'm like, and then I experienced death of my family members young. So I'm like, am I not going to live long? Like, is there a reason why all of these big things are happening? And then
How old were you? Mom?
I was in my 20s or so then. And I mean, this year I'm celebrating my 49th anniversary. But I'm 49, so people think I look really young and they don't believe that I'm, almost 50 and all of these kinds of things. But, at a certain point, particularly now, I'm like, no, God has something for you. Like, you can actually be present and enjoy these wins and enjoy these moments, because it's not happening because it's coming to an end. Like, of course, none of us know when that will, eventually happen for all. But I mean, truly, so there was something, whether that was environmental, whether that was just looking at the health disparities in our community and in our family. Like, I just really always had this underlying belief that my big dreams were going to get cut short. And truly, never in my wildest dreams that I imagined I would be a history maker. I would be this person who would literally make a textbook history.
So we'd like to welcome you to the Vonnya Pettigrew Show. My name's Doni Glover. I'm just sitting in as co-host today. Vonnya is sharing her storied past with us. In terms of, I wanted to say that when we lose someone close, you gain an angel. Do you believe that?
I do.
Our friend Shu Smith recently lost his mom. And I felt the need to tell him that he's gained an angel. I went so far as to say to him, you're going to get the biggest blessing ever. And the next thing I know, when I hear from him, he's talking about the communiversity in 52 cities.
Amazing. They're looking out. They're looking over us. That's something.
I don't know what an angel looks like per se, but I do believe we gain angels.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. I'm gonna give you this little tidbit. I'm gonna drop all these little gems for you, but this is something that some people know about me, but not many people make that connection. But my brother, who is deceased, was a very famous recording artist, Charles Pettigrew, from the duo group Charles and Eddie. And they were very popular in the 90s. The song was called What I Lied to You. You might know the song. I cannot sing. He was the singer in the family, so you have to look it up. And to the point of you stating about the angels, you know, there are people that know this, they know the song. And a friend of mine literally this past week, you know, said I was in the airport, I was in the lounge, you know, waiting, blah, 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 whatever it was where they were. And they were like, and your brother's song came on. And people take the time to tell me, they can be like, I was in Walgreens and I was in Piggly Wiggly. I was in, like, it doesn't matter. They will always stop down to tell me. And I appreciate that because one, that it makes them light up to know that they hear it, but then to take the step to tell me that they heard it every single time it happens, it blesses me in such a special way because it's right at a moment where I'm either in a moment, you know, and then I'm like, there goes my angel, you know, and that song will play. Something I'll just be watching a reel on IG and the person's reel is made to his song. And I'm just like, he just shows up.
I think that's Rondi right there, if I'm not mistaken. So my brothers, yeah, I had two brothers. One's gone and one sister, and she's gone. The three boys have this favorite song. We all share this song. It's Stevie Wonder's As I'll Be Loving You All.
I love it. Do-do-do. Yes.
So at his funeral, those lyrics were shared. But here's the part. It's crazy. The night before he got his wings, and this was roughly 2021, Dr. Tyrone Taborn gave me a call the night before he passed and told me that he would be a corporate sponsor of this network.
Wow.
STEM City USA. So that's the night before Teddy got his wings. And when I look back, to me, it was God softening the blow.
Yeah.
As you know, when you're running a business, sometimes you want to quit.
Yeah.
And I wasn't at a point of wanting to quit, but it was kind of like, again, the good Lord softening the blow. The word says, my yoke is easy. Yeah. Anyway, the day of the funeral, I got to tell you, this is the supernatural part. Before I go to the funeral, now I got to leave here, go over here and catch the train to Owens Mills. I didn't have a car at the time. My other brother was going to meet me at the subway. So first I go out and walk this big security, German Shepherd right here. Yeah, I'm talking about you. And when I come back in the house, Alexa is playing I'll Be Loving You Always. I go over to the subway to catch the train to Owens Mills, and that song was playing on the subway.
Yeah.
Nobody on planet Earth can tell me what I got from that moment.
Come on. Yeah. Every
No,
place your
nobody.
footstep, that song was playing.
So yes, I do believe when we lose someone in the physical, we gain them in the spiritual.
Yeah.
And I do think we will see them again on the other side.
Yeah.
The old people say by and by.
In the sweet by and by.
In the sweet by and by. Yeah.
See, that's how you know I'm almost 50. See, I be saying stuff. The sweet by and by.
Yeah. Philadelphia. So what advantage does Philadelphia give you over us Southerners?
I really want to say something that's all profound and deep, but my first initial reaction when you was framing the question, what the song say, "Nuck if you buck." That's what gives us the advantage. Like, we not ready. We, you know what I mean? We don't have to take the lay hands. So, like, nuck if you buck. It makes you fight. It makes you grind. You got nothing to lose. You know what I mean? You just go after it with a different spirit. You know, there's a faster pace a bit, you know. Yeah.
Did you have to fight in Philadelphia coming up as a child?
So
I mean, you had the older siblings, but
that's where I'm going. My sister that is next to me in age, and we're 9 years apart because I'm really the baby to them. I don't know if you remember, I can't remember what old sitcom it was, and it was like the bully. They called the bully the Gooch. My sister was the Gooch. Like, you was not at all playing. Like, I've seen her really with them hands. I'm talking grown men the size of bouncers. Like, you know, I'm like, why she so rough? But it just, you know, it's like in a family, every character has their traits, you know. And she definitely was a protector, you know, and our face is identical, which is so funny because we have the same face, but our energies, our aura is so different. But this part is exactly the same. And like if their kids look at pictures of both of us, they can't tell which one is their mom, which one is their aunt. But my mom was also, my whole family, honestly, they country. You know the story of Root Ranch. Root Ranch is named after my people in the South, from South Carolina. So this, you know, low country, these people like shoot for sport. You know, they hunt, they pull their hog mugs out the thing themselves, like, you know. So when you grow up around that level of raw,
did you have to gut a pig?
I was like the little princess. I didn't even have to go in the sun. They like, she could stay in the house. All the other kids was out in the field doing stuff. I mean, my family had acres, you know. My granddaddy on my daddy's side had tobacco land. So like all the grands in the summertime. And I'm city kid. I don't recognize what none of these little bugs and creatures are. I'm like, they like, just sit down. Just sit down. You're slowing us up.
Don't know where to go from that one.
And my daddy, he carried me in his arms. Let me tell you, my daddy carried me in his arms till I was about 8 years old. I mean, as an adult, I'm still only 5 feet tall. So I was a small child, you know. So I would not touch the ground because I just, you've been in the South before. And if you grew up in concrete, when you go to the South, they leaves look different. You like, what are these little things? Like, they just look different. I was like, yeah, I don't know about this. I can't touch the ground. They say, put that baby down.
So, media. when I think of the work that we get to do in media, you have a television show, I have a show, Mark Clark. Shout out to Rondi Griffin.
Yes.
The first thing that comes to my mind is Oscar Micheaux, the first Black filmmaker.
Yes.
I also think of my media professor at Coppin. The very first thing he had us watch was The Birth of a Nation.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted us to see the stereotypes that we be up against as Black media professionals.
Mm.
Having gone to the University of Maryland, College Park, I imagine they weren't painting that picture of media.
Well, I had some really great classes, and I remember an Afro Studies class, and we read Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. So they brought it, they made sure we had some foundational.
They had you read Achebe, huh?
Yes, we did.
And that's, of course, about Africa and the colonialists coming in and the divide and conquer, the Willie Lynch that we've experienced. What do you think of Africa?
I mean, I've never traveled to Africa as of yet. I desire to. I have very, very close friends during my college experience, particularly. My one best friend, she was Nigerian. And so spent a lot of time with her and her family. And then my other best friend, her parents were African Americans. They, were from like the Texas area, Marylanders, but by way of Texas. And they were diplomats, like in Kenya. And I never, again, I'm from Philly, right? Not a very big scope, if you will. So having a friend that's actually Nigerian, and then another friend who grew up pretty much boarding school in America because her family, her parents worked State Department and, diplomat and all these kind of foreign affairs in Kenya. It really opened my lens, like, tremendously. So you're talking two different perspectives, but both beautiful depictions of African and African American wealth, in a very different way. So that really helped shape my perception around the continent, if you will. And I mean, when we did the awards at
Sankofa.
Yeah, Sankofa. Mama Kiki, she's like my auntie, I literally used to live in the block of her shop when she was in Charles Village. So, knowing beautiful people, beautiful cuisine. I mean, she used to cook, like she would have parties and these sort of things and make sure I was there, So the continent itself, I mean, it's something to behold. It's something to be proud to be from, despite some of the negative things that are oftentimes portrayed. When
I mean, America paints a really negative picture of Africa.
Absolutely.
Tarzan swinging through the jungle.
Right.
Or just the history of Africa as it relates to colonial powers. All of Africa has been carved up and colonized except Ethiopia. Ethiopia is the one. And sometimes people want to debate me that Liberia and Sierra Leone were not colonized, but in fact they were. They wouldn't speak a European language there if they weren't. Ethiopia has been able to maintain its original character, its integrity. A lot of us don't know. We call ourselves Christian, and we don't know the significance of Ethiopia to Christianity. I think one of the oldest Bibles in the world is in Ethiopia, is in Amharic. And if there was a study to show thyself approved unto God, then if we're truly Christian, then maybe instead of going to, or maybe in addition to going to Dubai and the Maldives and Cape Verde, maybe we can consider Ethiopia and its true role in Christianity, let alone what happened in Nubia and Egypt. So you're here in Baltimore. Is Baltimore as like one thing they have in Philly that I always admire compared to Baltimore is Odunde. God, I love Odunde.
So I was actually reflecting on that the other day because in Baltimore, you know, the announcements have been dropping about the different festivals, AFRAM and what's coming up, Artscape, you know, and believe it or not, but I guess it's probably not that hard to believe. I'm from Philly. So, and I don't know, when I say that, like people from Philly know what that means. So I'm going to say it and explain it, but I think maybe local to Baltimore, there may be locals who feel the same way. But Baltimore, well, no, we go back to Philly. But Philly ain't no game, right? So I did not grow up with that kind of liberty or freedoms to go to those kinds of festivals. While I knew what they were and I knew that they were meaningful, you just didn't go to crowds. It's not safe. Like, so that was the reality of it. So I actually have never experienced the Odunde celebration. And again, know what it is, you know, all of those things. But, and there's still that part of me where, you know, obviously I sit in a different position and posture here in Baltimore. So it's important for some of the events and the festivals that I, you know, am present or I show face or, you know, that sort of thing. But my inner core says, don't go into them crowds. Like, that's not what you do. That's not what we do. That doesn't make sense. I mean, to see Philadelphia this past week for the Super Bowl parade, I was so proud of them. Like, it was beautiful. You didn't really hear of anything, you know, negative coming of it. And people were really united and excited. And like, morale was high, energy was high. And that, again, being a native was something that felt a little bit different. And I mean, I literally saw a lot of people that I knew, from like classmates to my actual relatives, at the parade. And I'm telling you, we don't do that. So the fact that something felt different enough, could be that dynamic Black woman leading the city, I'm just saying. But whatever it is, they felt inclined to be out there and truly take part. I will also say one other thing that I did slightly different as I got older to kind of break that being in crowds. I began making a tradition when my nephews were younger to go to the Thanksgiving Day parade. Like, I never was able to go when I was a child because, again, my parents ain't going in crowds. They weren't paying parking or whatever, you know. And I was like, I want them to experience, you know, seeing the mummers come down, you know, the Ben Franklin Parkway, and seeing Santa come to town to kick off the holidays. So
this is the Thanksgiving parade in Philly.
Yep.
Big thing, huh?
Oh yeah.
I think the big thing here, besides of course the West Baltimore Pennsylvania Avenue parade, James Mosier parade. I haven't really done the Preakness parade. I think there's a parade there, but I'm thinking of the Martin Luther King parade. That's always on the coldest day of the year ever here in Baltimore.
Listen,
and I know it didn't happen, I think, this year.
But literally 2 days ago, Monday, was the Black History Month.
Is that what that was? Tied all that damn traffic downtown.
And I marched in it.
Oh, y'all help me out because I was trying to get somewhere.
You didn't see me?
No, I saw that crowd. I'm like you. I'm going the other way.
No, you go the other way.
My daddy said, read about it on the news.
Read about it, correct. So again, that was special for me. So I sit on the board for the American Red Cross, and the Red Cross marched in the parade.
Oh yeah, I did see you with that on. What you have on? I saw
I
you
had the Red
somewhere.
Cross. We had to wear our emergency vest. Yeah. It was nice.
Well, I can tell you, I'm a board member with the Salvation Army, and you're not gonna catch me in none of that outfit. I'm telling you.
You're not wearing it.
I will do anything they ask, but I'm not putting on the Salvation Army uniform. Okay, ringer, and
Yes. Now,
but
I was teasing them though, because I said y'all told me this was a 5-block walk. When we got
they lied.
When we got to the 40 underpass, I was like, this the halfway mark. We still had to keep going all the way to the end before it turns into the highway. And we started at State Building. I was like, what in the world?
So tell them about You Bought the Block. And we should acknowledge both Rondi and Mark Clark.
Hey, y'all.
Our partners in crime.
They are. All my brothers are here. Hey, y'all. Hey. So, yeah, I bought the block. I bought the 2200 block of Boston Street.
And let me tell you, you have branded it. You have branded your story. You know, one thing that we do as marketers is we make something SEO friendly.
Mm-hmm.
So that when you Google your name, those of us in it deep enough, we want to control where our name is placed. What's first?
That's right.
You know, we were just talking last night about how to get your book at the top of the list.
Yes.
If you have your book, how you want control, as much control as possible over your name and where it's placed and what it's placed under.
That's right.
You don't want another media company to have Dr. Vonnya Pettigrew. You want to have whatever it is, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Google, your website, whatever it is, you want to be in the driving seat of that first place placement. And it can cost you if you don't know what you're doing, but you certainly don't want a whole bunch of other people to have your name and yours is all the way down the bottom, nor do you want to not have your name up there at all.
Right.
And you have companies that will tell you they can do this, they can do that. And so it's nice to be able to have some control over what you do. Like if you do a story, I'll just add this in. If you did a story on Susie Q and Susie Q had no placement whatsoever.
That's right.
I imagine, like myself, you take pride in saying, bam, we got you search engine optimized ready.
Yes. So true. And this journey has been something, some of it has been done, you know, organically and intentionally, but it also organically went viral, you know, and it's really interesting to see how it goes in like these waves. There'll be these periods of time where it's quiet and then it'll kick right back up again. I was really surprised, honestly. Not sure why I was surprised, but I was surprised when at the end of 2024, you know, all of these different outlets do end of the year recaps, the highlights, the big wins of the year. And then it was like, I forgot what the title was, but it was like, you know, 10 iconic moments that happened in 2024. And there I was in the not only in the lineup, but I was in the cover image. So it was like 3-4 images. And you're aligned with all kind of things from, you know, the kid who, you know, cured cancer to Angel Reese to, you know, the gamut was just so wide. It was so many incredible things that happened from, like I said, an Uncle Nearest or whatever, and you're seeing this recap of the year. And then people started sending it to me like, hey, look at you the end of the year highlight, And then it just started a surge of flood all over again of it getting reposted and reposted and reposted. So, yeah. So I guess as we continue to go, we're in Black History Month. It's kind of trending. Women's History Month. Then it'll be Juneteenth. It'll be, who knows, Jubilee Wednesday. We find a reason to lift up the story. So it's really incredible to see. Yeah.
Well, since Rondi is directing this flow, would you like to plug your show?
I love it. Thank you. So, as you were just talking about that SEO, one of the courses or workshops that I teach, it's a masterclass around craft, create, and controlling your narrative. We're branding our businesses, but I want top CEOs to also understand it's just as important that they are controlling the narrative, because you can Google or whatever Root Ranch, but you could also just Google my name, and then either way, all the things, right? So we created an original show called Root Ranch Marketplace. I hate referring it directly as that, but it makes it easy for people to connect to. But it's like a QVC style production where we feature local businesses and tell their story, shine light on them, show their product, show their service. We convert our studio into multiple sets. We book a roster of businesses to be featured on the episode. It's like one of our favorite days of the month when we're shooting Marketplace, because the building is buzzing. You have this flow of traffic of different businesses ebbing and flowing, coming in and out, and establishing what their product presentation is going to look like, rehearsing and really just getting themselves together. But the real twist, the real hook to it is, as a media company, we go beyond just saying we created a show and we're going to interview you. We know that you've never been on television before. We know that you've never done this in this way. So we really wrap our arms around you through our craft, create, and control your narrative kind of training model to work with those businesses to get it down. How are they going to talk about their businesses? What are those key points? Also, being in a place of readiness so that when we give them this visibility, they can fulfill. If I send all this traffic to your website, does your e-commerce page work? Can it fulfill orders? If we're sending folks to your brick and mortar, are you going to be ready with some of the things you just featured on the show? Your display in your physical space, all of these kind of things. We work with those businesses to really help them understand how to brand and market their business, their product, or their service. And so it's super exciting. They walk away with their segment from the show. They get to have evergreen piece of collateral that they can continue to use. And that was the most important thing for me, because again, it's nothing wrong with going to events and tabling and pop-up shops and flea markets and all of these kinds of things. The downside, though, is you can only sell to who was present at the event, right? People may give your card and refer you. However, when you have a digital collateral, a digital asset that people can watch over and over and over again and share it and keep pointing, that can go viral. They can keep pointing back to your business, to your website, to your brick and mortar address. I want you to have continued growth. So helping them to understand the value in investing in media marketing, but even more specifically, digital assets, whether it's a commercial, whether it's a segment on a show, being featured, leveraging those things so that when people do look you up, they not only find your website, they also find You were featured on Root Branch Marketplace. You were featured on Be More News. You were featured on Good News with Mark Clark. You know what I mean? And now you're popping up in all of these other ways, and they can watch your segment and learn a little bit more about you and share it. And let's keep that going.
Dr. Pettigrew, any advice for Black women dealing with microaggressions in the workplace by white females in the era of Trump?
Yeah, I go again, wanting to say what's off the hip, but part of it is, one, exercise discernment. I'm going to say that, you know. I don't want people to be emotional. I don't want people to respond emotionally. We know the trick of the enemy. We've seen this movie before. We know traps. We know that you're trying to poke the bear, you're trying to trigger. So if you already know that, then you make your decision on how you want to move. Sometimes,
have you ever had to deal with it?
Oh, excellent. Well, this is what I'm getting at. Sometimes the action is shut that shit down. Like, stop playing in my face. That's just what it is. Shut it down. Call it out. I see what you're doing. I'm not here for it. Go play somewhere else.
Did you ever have to meet somebody in the parking lot?
What I tell you, nut if you buck. What I tell you from the onset. So I think because people may already know that I nut if you buck, they probably won't poke the bear as much because they like, she might get loud. She might get loud. And we don't want this to get loud because that's why I was micro. And I'm macro. But in general, that's not my call, because truly, and I'm not even just saying this just to be sounding all whatever, I really am a woman of God. And I'm like, again, that's why it's like he really gives you foresight ahead and you see it coming, you know? You see it coming.
The Holy Spirit guides you. So what is the Holy Spirit telling all of us in this era where a Nazi saluting South African descendant of Dutch Boers who raped South Africa with apartheid and took their diamonds is considered the president, where his son told the president to shut the F up? Did I miss something? What type of Beverly Hillbilly foolishness is this in the White House?
I just read this literally this morning on social media, and it made me chuckle. And I know the context of what they meant it, and I'm going to say it because I believe the audience will receive it as such. You have seen people take the DEI letters and add different definitions to what the letters mean for different things. Like, our mayor has, definitely earned it, which is true. DEI definitely earned it. But I saw one this morning that said, didn't even impact us. Didn't even impact.
Are you talking about like, is this a throwback to the 1929 Depression when our white counterparts found themselves jumping off of buildings?
Where I'm going is the ignorance, the stereotypes, the misperceptions of who they believe are the recipients of all of these things that they're rolling back, thinking it's going to have one way, it's going to impact a certain group a certain way. But when the statistics show that that group that you think is going to be impacted isn't actually the recipient at all of the thing.
I'm seeing white people crying on social media.
So you really hurt yourself. So
I'm seeing white farmers crying.
You hurt yourself. Because you didn't realize that was also government assistance. Because see, right? Okay. So didn't even impact us. So I say all that to say, I see, just like I kind of saw in the pandemic, a shift. A shift is happening. Scripture tells us, the last shall be first.
you know, it's the buyer's remorse I'm seeing from some white people who were led by hate. They didn't want Obamacare, but they wanted Affordable Health Care Act.
Same program. What we say?
And these are otherwise halfway smart people who bought into hate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that's the reason why I look at Thanksgiving and Christmas and the American way. Oh, it's the family, it's love. You can't play with love. It's the greatest force in the universe. So you can say, oh, I love people, Jesus, glory to God, happy Thanksgiving, I love you, but your actions don't coincide with that.
Right.
There's something's gonna happen. You gotta choose. You going right or you going left.
Right.
But you can't be doing the hokey pokey, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of folk are realizing a lot of things. Like, and when you're talking about the group that's been marginalized, we didn't benefit from these things. These things didn't trickle down to us. So, okay. You know.
Did you know that Black people saved Cadillac at a time like this? We couldn't buy cars. Cadillac was going out of business. And a white man realized that they were cutting their own throats. And so they made Cadillacs. I think it was one of the first vehicles that they started selling to Black people.
Made it appealing to. Mm-hmm. Wow.
So when you hear ignorant people talking about like Trump, I mean, if it weren't Black people, there'd be no America, you could virtually say. And we're only like 15% of the population.
Right.
We're like the pinky finger in America in terms of our numbers, but our impact is like the entire fist.
Yeah.
And if you know your history, you know that we were a part of every major war.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
Why do you do media?
Great question. When I first started, I did it because I thought it was fun. I still think it's fun. I think I have greatest job ever because shoot days, set days. I'm not a typical early morning whatever, but it's nothing like a 5 a.m. getting ready for the shoot, loading up the trucks, all the stuff, even seeing all the cabling and the whatever, the crash service table, like the whole thing, being out in the cold, being in position to catch the first shot at daybreak. Unmatched. The camaraderie you feel being out there on the road with the crew, on set. You get to travel together. I mean, again, I got into it because I really was like, this is a fun job. And so running a media company is a little bit different. I don't get to spend as much time on set during the fun part. I make appearances, come out, I greet everybody, I encourage everyone, I thank them for their hard work and their dedication. Or if they need me to, film a roll in or bump or something, I come in, I say a few lines and then I leave. But the whole act of preparing the call sheet and all that, like I used to love all of that. Like that was my jam. It really was. Down to getting the cases of water, getting the cooler and the ice. Like it just was all like the whole thing. But being the owner of a media company and the owner of a company that teaches media to kids and really understanding, going back to what we talked about, that is so powerful. Like, you really are in a position of power because you can really create narratives.
It's called
whether it's your own or for your clients.
It's called the fourth estate.
Tell me about the fourth estate.
It's a part of media. It's a part of the running of a country. So let's fourth estate.
Here's the definition of fourth estate: the press, the profession of journalism.
The press, the profession of journalism. There's a historical reference to, let me give it to you correctly. The term fourth estate or fourth power refers to the press and news media in their explicit capacity, beyond reporting of news, of wielding influence in politics.
Yeah.
The derivation of the term arises from the traditional European concept of the three estates of the realm: the clergy, the nobility, and the commoners.
Wow.
So
I mean, to be compared alongside the clergy, that's saying something. That's power.
I think it was Karl Marx that said religion is the opiate of the people. We look at what preachers have done, what priests have done, what the Catholic Church has done. And that's why it's important for us as Christians to understand the origins of Christianity and how it's been translated, manipulated, just like Islam, for the benefit of political powers. That aside, I want to ask you about your fellow Gemini, not Donald Trump, but Kendrick Lamar.
Hey, Gemini. That makes all the sense in the world now.
Yes, Kendrick Lamar and Donald Trump are both Geminis. As is
What's
Tupac.
Donald Trump's birthday? He's a Gemini.
You didn't know that? He was actually born. He had a mother and a father.
He was born.
Yeah, he's supposed to have a soul. Donald Trump's birthday.
Donald Trump was born on June 14th, 1946.
Oh, he a June Gemini. He a June Gemini.
Y'all kill me with that.
That explains a lot. That's different.
Y'all kill me with that.
Oh, wait a minute. He a Gemini? Oh, he a
Kendrick
June
Lamar's
Gemini.
birthday. Kendrick Lamar is June 17th.
Oh, wow.
So you're a May Gemini?
I'm a May Gemini.
What's the difference? And how the hell some 15 days gonna make a difference? All right, tell me about.
I honestly don't know what the real difference is, but there is a difference. I don't know. They getting too close to being a Cancer. I don't know, but
Hold up, Pam, slow down. I'm a Cancer. Nobody understands you Geminis like Cancers because we just decided to stick around in the oven a little bit longer. Tell me about the Super Bowl show. Tell me about the imagery. Tell me about the flare bottoms. They Not Like Us. Serena doing the walk.
I listen to so many different breakdowns. You know, different people on social media will break.
Then I'm seeing white people do the dance.
Everybody doing it. That one news anchor, he came in. I'm slipping, I'm sliding. He came into the studio doing the dance. But I listened to this one breakdown. Can't quote the sister, don't know her but it was so good. And I mean, I had listened to several, but what I loved about her is, one, she didn't even get into the lyrics. She just went scene by scene by scene and just broke down like the visuals, you know, the intentionality of the visuals, and how, you know, there were different moments where Kendrick would be doing something, and then he would go back and counsel with the women. If you saw how he kept going back and forth. And I was like, okay, counseling with the women, you know, getting they weigh in, you know. on the matter. And then obviously the bigger point of the stage being that of a video game, and that the game is over. I was like, if nothing else, all of the references to the video game and the different pockets of the different shapes that represented the different moves the controller makes, and just, again, making it very clear, to your point of earlier, the microaggression, like, we are aware of what is happening. And we're like, he basically made a very vocal and public statement to say, we know, we aware, and we not playing no more. The game's over.
I've heard arguments as to why Lil Wayne wasn't chosen. And most of those comments said that he could not have thought of something this masterful, essentially. I think Kendrick said it's the right time, but the wrong guy.
The wrong guy. Yeah.
So what's next?
I mean, all I can say when I think about that performance again, I just was like, what a huge, enormous expression of courage. I mean, the biggest stage, to make it about this thing at a time where this thing is being muted. I'm like, wow. Everybody's watching. Around the world. Everybody's watching. And you used your moment, not for yourself, but for the nation, really, like
the world, even.
The world.
Saw people in other countries doing his dance.
Yes. I saw one with like Indian women in their garb and the whole thing doing it. They were doing the whole thing. Are you really going to do it? And I'm like, wow. And they were still dancing in their ethnic style, but they were to the audio.
He's talking about seizing the moment. And as distracting and as, because Donald Trump, he's like this. He'll throw this crazy idea out. And by the time you go and tackle that, he done thrown out 4 other crazy ideas over it. So you kind of got to, it's like guarding a really quick basketball guard. You got to stay right in the middle. You can't deviate. You got to stay right there. They tell you watch the midsection because wherever they go, you got to focus on, and that's Donald Trump. But Kendrick Lamar had something for his AZZ that day.
And that he was present that day. Like, it wasn't, like, that took a lot of courage.
And Trump, I understand, Mahomes and his wife were both Trumpsters.
Wow.
Now they're even talking about Philly's billionaire owner, who is a Democratic funder. So, you got Trump over there, but you got Philadelphia's owner, who's been a supporter of Obama. So Philly, black quarterback, real black quarterback.
But a real
I got to say this, so many NFLers are Republican.
Yeah.
And we didn't even get into Snoop Dogg, Now Lee, and Soldier Little Boy.
A lot going on. But that's why, again, Kendrick's performance was just like, get focused. Get focused. And the fact that so many, like, when have you ever seen a performance have this many people trying to break down all of these things. Like,
Never.
how long is the performance? Like 7 minutes, 10 minutes? Like, y'all took all of this time to really pay attention down to his choice of pants. Like, they're like, we know that that's not the fashion of today. So that is even a militant statement, you know? So everything.
Where's America going? What is the future according to Dr. Vonnya Pettigrew? Last question.
Oh, gosh.
What's next?
I still believe there's a shift. I still believe God is doing that thing God does well. That's why you got to believe he's the author. Beginning and the end. Know how this plays out. We're in a shift. We are really in a shift because the things that are happening are so extreme that it has to be. Like, it's so extreme. So I am honestly still extremely optimistic. I know there's a lot of things that are going on that are concerning to a lot of people, but it truly reminds me of pandemic. We have never experienced fear. If you remember them early days of the pandemic, we had never experienced fear like we experienced fear during the pandemic. There was nowhere to go. There was no, like, when it's a hurricane, you can be like, okay, I'm gonna pack up and I'm gonna go see my peoples up north somewhere, and I'll come back and see what the damage is to my home. The pandemic, there was nowhere to go. And in fact, you were forced to isolation. But for me, my testimony, it was in that moment of isolation, and when, like I said, the tail became the head and head became the tail, that's when we grew. That's when Root Ranch took off. So I'm looking for a repeat, Lord. Like, how this thing going to scale and grow? How were those that were in the rear moved to the front of the line? Because he would literally turn the line around. That's where we at. The line's going to turn around. That's where I'm at.
Dr. Vonnya Pettigrew, we thank you for joining us this morning. Powerful message. Again, any thoughts on Rondi, Mark Clark, the next shows?
One, love those brothers. I love our collective. You included, Doni. I love that independent Black media, we're showing up collectively together and creating synergy amongst our programming that, while unique and different in their own right, they all still point to each other. And with intentionality, we lift each of our shows up inside of each other's shows. And that's super, super dope. And I hope that those that are watching, whether as a viewer or other thinkers or thought leaders, are seeing what we're doing and the way in which we're doing it to encourage further collaborative, movement, because we can no longer move in silos. We have to move together. And I think what we are creating here is so, so excited. I'm excited to be on the show with you. I told you, we can make this a reoccurring thing. Let's get this thing popping and have commentary and keep engaging with the people, and finding out what they need and doing what we can with our influence to help bring it to light.
Good deal. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Vonnya Pettigrew. How can people get in touch with you?
Y'all can follow me on Instagram, Vonnya Rooted. Vonnya like Kanye, but Vonnya Rooted.
Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate your patience.
You're welcome. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks, Doni.
Thank you. Good morning, world.